Do you know that John the Baptist was not an innovator? He did not bring new truth, and we're going to look at this in a few moments more extensively. He actually was a great restorer. Notice what we find in Matthew chapter 17 and verses 11 through 13. Matthew 17, 11 to 13. John the Baptist was not raised up to bring revolutionary new truths, new doctrines. He was brought to restore that which had been torn down. And by the way, that's why the New Testament calls him Elijah. You remember in the Old Testament what Elijah did when he went to the top of Mount Carmel? It says that he took the stones of the altar of the Lord that were laying all over the place, and he rebuilt, or he restored the altar of the Lord. In other words, he restored true worship to God. Notice what it says there in verse 11. Jesus answered and said to them, "Indeed, Elijah is coming first, and will what? Will restore all things. But I say to you, Elijah has come already, and they did not know him." That means that they rejected him, by the way. They did not know him, but did to him whatever they wished. In other words, they mistreated him. Now notice this. It continues saying, "Likewise, the Son of Man is also about to suffer at their hands." See, the Messiah is going to suffer at their hands just like John the Baptist suffered at their hands. And so it continues saying, "Then the disciples understood that he spoke to them of whom? He spoke to them of John the Baptist." Now folks, this verse is telling us that if they rejected the forerunner, they would also reject the Messiah. If you reject he who prepares the way for the coming of the Messiah, you will eventually also reject the Messiah. Because the word likewise is used. Likewise, the Son of Man is also about to suffer at their hands. Now let's notice something else interesting about John the Baptist. John the Baptist was actually more than a prophet. He was not the prophet, he was more than a prophet. Notice Luke chapter 7 and verse 26. Luke 7 and verse 26. Here Jesus is speaking and he says, "But what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I say to you, and more than a prophet." Let me ask you, was John the Baptist a prophet? He most certainly was a prophet. But he was not a prophet. He was more than a prophet. Remember these details, because we're going to come back to them a little later on in our study. Another interesting thing about John the Baptist is that he did not perform any miracle. Notice John chapter 10 verses 41 and 42. John 10, 41 and 42. It says here, "Then many came to him and said," come to Jesus, that is, "John performed no sign." That means no miracle. "But all the things that John spoke about this man were true. And many believed in him there." And so you notice that John the Baptist did not perform any sign. He did not perform any miracle, which is a very important detail as we study along. Another interesting thing about John the Baptist is that he had the testimony of Jesus. Notice John chapter 5 and verses 31 to 33. And before we read that passage, I need to make a note of clarification. And that is that in English, we have two words, which is testify and witness. Those two words are the same Greek word. So whenever you find witness or testimony or testify, they are the same Greek word. Now notice John 5 verse 31. Jesus is speaking. He says, "If I bear witness," that can be translated testimony. "If I bear testimony of myself,